Welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I do appreciate you for tuning on in as we work our way down these draft picks one by one, taking a little bit of a closer look at what is a very deep draft class with a lot of selections, but also a lot of very interesting players. I'm looking at these guys deeply as much as anything because I really do like what they bring. Even on those guys I might not be fully sold on, you can still see where there is that upside, where that is the potential ability that exists inside them if they can refine some things on down, that they've shown you those flashes. And we're going to continue that trend on today with the first receiver that the Seahawks selected in this draft. We're not going to consider Elijah Arroyo an X-receiver, which I'm still going to go tight end with him. And that's going to be Tory Horton. And in a draft with a lot of potential targets who could be that sleeper, who's the best sleeper of this draft? Who's the great pick of this draft? Who's the one where the value was just absolutely unbelievable for where you were selecting him, that there's no way you should have been able to grab this particular guy? Well, there's a lot of, again, arguments to be made in this draft with different players on that front of things, but I think you could make as strong an argument in regards to Tory Horton, the Colorado State wide receiver who this past year had been dealing with some knee injuries, only was able to get through the first couple of games. They start into their conference schedule. He gets the knee injury, and he's not able to get through his final year of college football. But a guy who had put a lot of hay in the barn in the prior couple of years with his productivity. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, 18 touchdowns receiving, and he's doing it in a way which is not just like operating from the slot 100% of the time, so he's limited there. This guy can play all of the wide receiver positions. He's going to bring an impact when it comes to special teams as a punt returner. Hell, the guy can even throw the ball. So he's a very complete kind of receiver that you're potentially getting here. Just one of the reasons why I believe this could be as one of the biggest steals in this draft for your Seattle Seahawks, because the talent is true and it is real, and the explanation for why he fell adds up. You get why teams kind of had him in that camp of things. And I think the only other knock that you had on him was maybe there would be a question about his speed with the knee injury, and was he going to be able to go out there and test, and how fast really is he on the field? Is he more of just a 6'2", 6'3"-ish guy that's kind of a 4'6"-ish sort of guy? But instead he went out and ran a 4'4" on his pro day, which was tremendous, especially when you consider, I'm going to play a clip from his coach, where his coach talked about the fact that he had only been training for 3 weeks. He'd only been cleared to run full speed from that knee injury 3 weeks prior to his pro day, where he ran a 4.41. And what's really interesting about this is that the coach is also going to tell you in one of these cut-ups that he gained 15 pounds over this past year. So he's running 4.41 on the back of a knee that's a little bit dodgy, and he's doing so after adding about 15 pounds of weight from the year prior. So a lot of reason to believe here that he might even be a little bit faster than what he brought in at his pro day, but that box got checked. The health box would seemingly be checked at this point, and that he's going to be able to come back from this knee injury, and that's according to the coach as well. And so what caused him to fall was as much these reasons at the forefront. He was a little light, right? That's also part of this is, he looks a little bit thinner on the field at times. And so him gaining that 15 pounds over the year is him trying to advance himself to put himself into the right crosshairs for the NFL, where there's less of those things that they can pick at. And he's checking all the boxes, and it becomes easier for them to select him. And if this guy had gone out and put another 1,000-yard season up, was as dynamic as he had been in punt returns in years prior, that guy's probably going to be a second-round pick in this draft, if not even just maybe a shade pin higher on that. So having this kind of production, getting this kind of guy where they landed him in this draft was tremendous value for your Seattle Seahawks. And hopefully I can make a good case today as to why I think that they got a real sleeper here and a guy that's probably going to be a starter as we move into the future at some point. I'm not predicting next year, but this guy ascends to becoming a starter on this team. It would not surprise me in the least. And if he becomes pretty impactful as that starter, wouldn't surprise me in the least. This is just a guy that's got so many good things to his game. And as his coach said, he's just a football player. And you like adding those kind of guys to your teams. Guys that aren't just wired specifically to a position. They just love the game. They want to win. They'll do whatever you ask them to do on the football field. They'll lay it on the line in that way. And this is that type of cat. Really like this kid. First off, from a raw score, after his 4.41 posted time there as far as his 40-yard split goes, he had a pretty good 10-yard split in addition to that, 1.53. Again, adding that sort of 15 pounds of weight over the past year, yet still able to post that 1.53 10-yard split, which means he's got some explosiveness, he's got some quickness, and he's got some speed. But you feel that from him on the field as well. He posted a respectable 37.5-inch vertical leap, and he's got good size for this position, over 6'2". So when you break down his relative athletic score. He comes out to a 9.79, so that's a very good athlete. This is something where you go, wow, this guy dropped all the way down to us in the draft. We were able to get this guy with his productivity, with this kind of score, and I'm kind of surprised, quite frankly, when I look at this draft as to why so many teams allowed this guy to kind of slip on through. Maybe the medicals on the knee are a little bit dodgy, and that just got teams off on that front of things. It's not like he's had multiple knee injuries over and over again. So I'm a little confused at times when you do have him go out and sort of seemingly solidify himself with his testing times, that didn't really get him the bump that you would have thought that would have gotten him, at least a little bit by a round or two, let's say. From a career highlight standpoint, he's had a hell of a career out there at Colorado State, including a game against Colorado 2 years ago against Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and the like out there. And he was the best player on the field. Yeah, he was the best player on the field that night. 16 catches back September 16, 2023. You guys probably saw this game, kind of somewhat of a famous game, and the teams were just going back and forth, and it was a hell of a battle. But he gave it to Travis Hunter on a couple of those reps as well in that game with those 16 catches. Now, I will say in watching that game, there was a lot of routes run where he's just running a drag route across the field. It was like 9 drag routes in that game. They realized something about Colorado's defense dropping in depth with the coverages. They were always going to leave the drag route underneath, which was kind of interesting. Got 227 yards receiving against Utah Tech back on September 30th, 2023. Has an 85-yard touchdown reception on his resume. 3 TDs against Fresno State in 2020. So you see he's been a very productive guy for a very long period of time out there at Colorado State. This last year, he started five of the first 6 games of the season, but then suffered that collegiate ending injury in the Mountain West opener against San Jose State. So the production was limited because of that then. He just finished 35 yards off the Mountain West record for most receiving yards in a career. Missed it by that much. So very sparkling, sterling career out there at Colorado State. From a grade standpoint on this, he was relatively pretty well graded and good, definitely the last couple of years. As far as his ranking here, I meant to have that up for you guys. There we go. So as far as his ranking goes, if I can find it, let's try this. Almost fails, just go the other route here with it. So you've got up at the top of the pop here, Desmond James, a couple names you guys maybe not recognize much on this. Jaden Higgins, you guys will know that name. Jeremiah Smith, you'll know that name. Trey Harris. And as we get down here, you've got, you'll have to take my word for it. You got Tory Horton right there, about 36, highest graded player last year. Keeping in mind, too, again, limited year, wasn't able to go full bore out there in that way. So still able to be pretty solid in what he was doing. Just it was only through those first few games that he was rolling. You do have him initially at Nevada. He did transfer out to Colorado State, continually got better and better for the most part over the course of his career. You've got a guy that's played a lot of snaps like a few of our other prospects here where they played a lot of football. They're not coming in as this just raw prospect that's only started 12 games, that's only done this many snaps. Most of these guys have played a lot, and it just speaks to Seattle both looking for some upside and also then somehow finding a way to kind of target on guys who have a lot of upside in this draft, but then who have also played a lot of football and give you a lot of production. And you typically have to kind of pick one or the other when it comes down to that. You don't get to have both. And that's more of the ideal situation. When we look at his usage and where they lined him up and how they used him out there at Colorado State, you can see his slot percentage was a little bit into the mix. About a third of his snaps came up out of the slot. He was used wide quite a bit as well out there. That's mainly where you're going to find him, 81%, 81%, 71%, and then 64% this past year. So there is an ability to truly play on the outside, and with his speed, we know he can do that. There's no real question on that aspect of things. Very low drop rate for the most part. He actually improved it in 2023, dropping down from a 10% rate to a 4% rate, and this last year kept it about that 4% rate. He's a guy that can do some contact, contested catch stuff. As you can see here, the CTT is the number of contested catch attempts. The CTC is the converted contested catches. So he's converted 3 out of 6 this last year, 8 out of 14 the prior year, but that 8 out of 18 the prior year. That he's not a contested catch monster necessarily, but he can do it, and it's in his bag. And like I say with him, he's got a very big, deep bag. This is not a guy with just some limited little skill set where he can do a little of this and he can only do a little bit of that. He's got a lot he brings to the table. When you look at the yak and what he's done from that standpoint, especially the past couple of years, where he's almost half of his yardage is coming on the back of yak, which speaks to his ability to be able to be really good with the ball in his hands after the catch. He's got a custom move. My nickname for Tory Horton is the Hezzy. That's what I'm going to nickname him. And the reason being is that he just uses this hesitation move in the open field constantly, and he's able to just free guys up of it. He's got a juke move too that he can also bring out. So he's got a little bit in his bag as far as, run after that catch goes. Again, just so much of a fun player to watch and get behind because there is so much that he is bringing to the table. It doesn't stop there, though, with this guy because, as I said, he also can sling the rock a little bit. He's thrown it 7 times in his career. He's got 6 completions, so almost well over 150 yards, well over 150 yards passing in his career. Now he does have an interception, but we're not going to knock him for that. But 151 yards in his career. That's pretty unusual, right? We don't see this for a wide receiver very often, where you're going to be able to throw the ball 8 times and you convert that many times. And one of the throws I'm going to show you, it's a legit throw. He has to put it in there and fit it into a kind of a tight little window. It's wild to watch. So he can throw the ball. You can use him in the trick play side of it. That's a part that shouldn't be undersold. I wouldn't be surprised if they use that even with him next year on that. And then you've also got him as a punt returner, a very good, dynamic punt returner. Doesn't have a ton of attempts in doing this over the last couple of years, but when they've given him the opportunity, I mean, when you consider it, look at this guy. He's got 26 attempts on punt returns, and he's got 3 touchdowns. That's a hell of a bang for buck right there. Every couple of attempts, you're basically about to go get a TD. And so very, very dynamic as a punt returner. The hezzy stuff I was just talking about, that's the stuff that, of course, works great for those punters. You're running, you can just stop, cut back this way, and you lose the guy going back the other way because they're running full speed at you coming down the football field. So he does provide a lot of that in what he shows you with that. And that's another place where right out the gate, when you're looking at initial value beyond what he brings from a receiver position, he walks in and he's going to be able to give you this ability to be a really good punt returner. That was a big problem last year, wasn't it? I mean, we had Laviska Shenault in here hopefully to do it, and you were trying to figure out some other guy. You had the rookie in here, D. Williams, trying to do it. He was the muff man. It wasn't working. So this is a kind of a vital element to go out there and find for this team. It's a necessary one, and this guy's going to be able to bring it in a big degree. I mean, even if you're just getting this from him as a player, that'd be great as something that this team kind of needs. But that he gives all the other stuff as a receiver in addition to that and throwing to it, it's a part of what makes him tick kind of as a player. Now, before we get over to the cuts, I was doing some research on this guy over the last couple of days, and when you listen to the coaches talk about these players, they're always going to dress them up. They're always going to make them look at their best. They're going to talk about them in glowing terms. They're going to make them just seem like the greatest ever. Because look, these coaches want to go out there and recruit other high school players that they can sell to them that, we're going to develop you here and we're going to turn you into a pro and I'm going to have your back and I'm going to help elevate your stock as much as I possibly can. But I did feel like when I was listening to Newell, the coach out there with Colorado State, talk about this kid, that it felt a little bit different. That there was a connection with this guy to this kid and how he felt about him that I thought was a little bit just extra special a bit. And again, should get you just a little bit more hyped up about this kid and what he can bring to the table on it. And I had to play you a couple of these cuts because it's going to get you hyped too. If it gets me hyped, I know it's going to get you guys hyped. So let's play a couple of these quick little cuts. This is just after the pro day there with the head coach of Colorado State. He's being talked to by the local reporters there just after Horton's pro day. And so he's speaking to a little bit of some of the stuff having to do with Horton. And first up, he tells us, and he didn't know he's speaking to us out here in Seattle, but he tells us, you guys, you're getting yourself a damn steal, I tell you. You're getting yourself a steal. Here we go.
I mean, I'm so proud of Tory. It's a culmination of so much hard work, and this is typical Tory Horton now. I mean, being outside in the snow and the wind and the cold and running routes, catching punts. He's a football player, and, all he cares about is winning, and somebody's going to get a steal when they pick him.
Obviously, it's hard when he went down. How nice it for you to see that he is healthy and ready for this. And
I've been so proud of him, but I haven't been surprised. Text me at the combine, and he said he was going to run. Most players I've been in the combine. I coached in that league. I used to work the combine. Most players wouldn't have never ran. And for Tory to show that type of courage and competitiveness and wanting to run and then working out today, I'm just so proud of him. And he's gonna do very well at the next level.
So the coach is hyped up and really brings up an interesting point there about the fact that so many of others in his situation would have shut it down, would have said, look, I've got the productivity on tape. I've got the 2,000-yard seasons. I've shown what I can do as a punt returner. I've done my work. I shouldn't have to show this. I shouldn't have to give this to these teams and make them solidified coming off that injury. But instead, and certainly this was the case with the guy with Jackson Smith-Njigba, for instance, who did not run a 40 after he had had his hamstring injury through his kind of final year of his college career to the point of this coach. And so maybe a little bit wired differently than most in that way here with Horton, a willingness to only be cleared 3 weeks prior and then still being willing to put yourself out on the spotlight of these NFL teams where they know that this is it. There's no combine for you. You come out there and that knee's still a little dodgy. You're still dragging along. You're not able to beat your full best. You go out there, you run a 4.6. You might not get drafted. If that's a risk you're taking there. You know, where they might go, look, even especially if the medicals are a little bit dodgy from the doctor's standpoint and looking at it going, we don't know if this is going to fully hold up. We got relatively good confidence on this, but it's not ultimate. And so him willing to do that and take that risk, I think shows a little bit about his fortitude and willingness to be the kind of hard worker it would have taken to be just cleared 3 weeks prior to be able to make sure that you can be at your full best and cutting and moving and all of that stuff when you get to your pro day. And he does speak to a little bit, the coach does on this in regards to just being cleared just 3 weeks ago here.
He's a football player. You know, that's the one thing people ask me about Tory Horton. He's a football player. All he cares about is winning. He doesn't have a selfish bone in his body, and he's a great example of what it means to compete and play. You know, he's only been cleared for 3 weeks, so he ran great today. I saw he was cutting full speed. He looked really explosive off that knee. And he's going to be 100%. It's just a matter of time. But I think he's shown how he can work and come back. And, you know, he's 196 pounds. He's about 15 pounds heavier than he was a year ago. And that's why he came back. And he's more ready for this next step now.
A lot of interesting little nuggets in there that he was dropping on that, and especially the 15 pounds thing, which to me is kind of a bit of a mind-blowing thing where you to add 15 pounds like that to his build and to be able to still go out there and run that 4.41, that's you putting on good weight. That's not you going out there and, you know, having a couple weeks of 5,000 calorie days and you're going to put on the weight that way. That's you putting on lean muscle mass, you keeping your speed while you're adding weight. This is something coaches talk a lot about trying to do with players, but I think it's a lot easier said than done because sometimes you can end up putting on that bad weight, which just ends up slowing you down. I don't know if any of you have ever been out like that where you've been a basketball player and you go out and you've been playing ball and you've got a certain little vertical leap and you can move a certain way. Try adding and, you know, go through a Thanksgiving dinner and come back out on the ball court. You've added 10 pounds and it's like, wow, man, I feel like I'm carrying a weight here. I've got some ankle weights on or something here. I can't move like I used to, you know, kind of move. That's just 10 pounds. So to gain 15 pounds in a year and still be able to move that way, I think shows that he was able to add the weight, added good. I think the note about him just being a football player is something that really stands out too as well, as coaches just don't usually talk about guys like that unless they're wired a certain kind of way, where it's not as much about being, you know, this is my position, this is what I am, but about, you know, I'm a tough ass dude that'll get after it. I mean, that's kind of what I usually take away when I hear coaches talk about guys like that, because it's just not something that they tend to just throw around. Last little cut here for him, where he just talks about how special a prospect Tory Horton is, and then listen to just how much, you know, care and affinity this head coach has for this player. How much this goes beyond, to me, just him trying to buff up his player for the draft and to get him picked higher. That this stuff does seem sincere and that he really does feel it.
Players when they're out there?
I don't never get nervous for him. You know, he's just a player that I've never had to worry about. And I think everybody's known he's been my favorite since I got him as a freshman. And I can't really hide it, and it still is. I pull for him. I'm really excited for his opportunity.
What does it say about his character and your guys' relationship that he stuck around the program? Like a lot of guys, when they got hurt, we would have never saw them before coming.
Yeah, he had, you know, when he transferred from Nevada, he had offers from Baylor and Ole Miss to make a lot of money. And he came here because of us and our relationship. He trusted us, and he's a special, special guy. You just don't make many like him, and that's that's why I think he's such an amazing prospect, because he's unselfish and tough and competitive as they come.
I can't think of a better way to sell your player than that. And you can hear that this guy's a guy that he's got a bit of a special, like I say, affinity for this guy. Called him his favorite. He said, you guys all know it. I've tried to hide it, can't hide it. Just love the guy. Talks about having the opportunities to leave Nevada and go to some bigger programs like Ole Miss and probably make more money, but went to Colorado State for the vision that they had of him and how they wanted to use him. And that speaks, I think, a little bit to the loyalty factor, which at a lot of times here in this day and age in the NIL and college football is completely a missing item that you see, but something that I think is an important thing that you want to see. It does speak to a selflessness of a player when they're not just operating as sort of that gun for hire that will go wherever somebody will make them the highest paid. And I think the teams take something out of that. But this coach loved this kid, saw him as being a guy that is a sleeper in this draft and who's got a lot of upside to his game and is going to be able to work and be dynamic at the pro level. And boy, this guy got me hyped up. I'll tell you that. Got me super hyped up in listening to him talk about this. Is coaches will often talk about their guys and they're going to sing their praises and they're going to give a lot of boilerplate stuff to make it, to make them sound good. But there's also those players and those prospects, with certain coaches that hit just a tiny little bit different in what they are bringing to the table on that, I think. Okay, let's get on over here to the highlights here. Let's show you some of what this guy brings to the table today. And I'm going to start out here just with the old little highlight package, because I think that this is going to give you guys a little bit of a good feel for right out the gate. You're going to see a couple of these plays just like this one here, where you're going to see him win to the inside. He does this at the goal line. There's going to be another cut here in this little highlight reel. I'm going to show you that he does this as well. He's just able to create separation for whatever reason on this kind of in-cutting route right at the goal line. Seen him do it over and over again. You got catch radius here. One hands it here on the other side of it. Kind of a little sort of rub route there. So this same play here, right? I was showing you. So we see this play at the start. See how he manages to get the inside release. And then you can come back here, inside release. Same kind of play here. Working from the outside. It's not even like he's making a move. Look to the top side of your screen here. He's not even really making a move. He just has got a natural ability on that kind of route. There's about 4 or 5 of them I found on his tape in the end zone, just like this, where it's just the custom route run that they do that he's just able to get through. Some of it's the quickness and speed to get through there and clear through the defender, but it's one of his moves. He's got this kind of stood out to me with him. Good catch radius, contested catch, contact catch stuff. He can do that. Good route runner here. He's a toe tag, drag, swag kind of guy. Keeps the feet right. Here's that play again, right? I wasn't lying, was I, folks? He can just get off at will on this, can he? He gets the inside release, and he's so good lateral getting inside that the corner just can't get it. The corner tries to tug him here, but can't even tug him. And this route, that's going to work at the NFL level. He's winning on this at will at the college level. He's going to win at the pro level with that too. But this is the third cut I've showed you of this route at the goal line run on a success. So that is absolutely something I see as translating to the next level. He can be a big play guy. He's got an 88-yarder on his books. You see it there. But just a couple little highlights there to show you a little bit of what he does, and we'll go into the intricate blow-by-blow ones. But don't forget that route right there, because that's one that I like. That gets me stoked. Gets me stoked. Catch radius is first thing I want to start off with here when we get to specific things that we look at with this guy, which is that he can elongate his catch radius. He can extend. He's going to be able to reel in passes that are wayward passes, and this is something that can certainly help if he's going to have Jalen Milroe out there at times. So where you're going to watch him here on the route, a little bit of a condensed split here. You'll see him up at the top here as your front guy here. So I'll highlight that. And then watch him run his route. Breaks off, gets into the secondary route. I actually had it as the wrong guy. It's the back guy. So look, it's the guy behind the front guy on there in the top screen. Gets off the press, sits down, carries on the secondary route, extends, takes the hit, makes the catch. Good catch radius on this kid. A little bit of a different angle here to kind of show you. Goes up, takes a hit. That's a hell of a hit, right? And that ain't nothing. Pretty hard to go up and have to extend fully and then actually take a whack as you're extending, just as you're trying to reel the ball in. A lot of times you see that ball get dislodged on the hit as the guy's trying to pull it in from so wide out at that point. Another one here to show off a little bit of the catch radius. Throws a little bit off. Gets his body control up in the air here. He's at the bottom of your screen. Keeps himself inbounds, gets down the toe to make sure he's going to get that down, but make sure he can get up to the full extension to go get the ball too as well. He's not full extending here. This ain't go gadget arms kind of extension, but he's a already kind of bigger dude at 6'2 plus. So to be able to extend the catch radius beyond that is pretty cool. Here's that Colorado game where he was tearing them a new one. Look at this play. Look at that. I'm going to show you a close-up of this, by the way. Comes back. Bouncing around, comes back. Look at that. It looks like he did make the catch, did it? Like, oh, wait, he didn't reel that in. There's no way he reeled that in. Oh, yeah? Look at this. Look at that. Body control. Catch radius. Yes, sir. This is a game where he had 16 catches, folks. This game right here, he had 6. This is just one of them. There was 15 other catches after this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable play. Another one here with the catch radius. Just extends out. He jumps up. He attacks the ball in the air, gives the cornerback no ability to come back in and make a play on this. It's impossible. The corners doesn't play this bad, but he plays it better by attacking the ball, extending himself, and just making sure he's giving that corner no ability to come back and dislodge, knock away that ball. You can feel the strong hands he brings to play too here. Just comfortable catching it out away from his body. No worries there. Second nature for him. Another toe tag drag. I told you he's got that swag. And I'm going to give you that second angle on this one too. So you can see I'm not lying to you. I wouldn't lie to you. I wouldn't lie to you. Look at this. Look at this. He's a ballerina on those sidelines. Ballerina, I tell you. Just keeping the feet in, keeping himself alive. Secondary route. Love it. Another one here. Right on the sideline. Similar to the one we saw a little earlier there. Breaks into the secondary route. Gets the toe down. Always has it just, he's got a good spatial awareness of where the sideline is, how much room he's got. This is kind of a skill in itself. I've watched a lot of guys that can play like Helen Keller when it comes to the sideline as wide receivers, and they have no idea of where the white is at. Like they're stepping every which way, but he always has an understanding of, can't step on the lava. Got to stay off the lava. Get that foot in. Operating here from the slot. It's a nice little just out route run here from the slot, then extends up. And again, like you've seen already here before, making sure he gets both feet in there. Make sure he's secured the catch. Again, nothing here where on this one, it's not a sparkling kind of rep or anything like that. I just want to show this to show you guys how, kind of comfy he is in. Make sure I got the right guy here. No, he's the outside guy. Unless you're your guy on the outside, but it's just that he's going to go attack the ball. He's going to extend away. He's not. Some guys will catch it out away from themselves, but they do it kind of begrudgingly, or so you just almost got to force them to. With him, it's just automatic. The hands are going to come out. I'm going to attack the ball in the air. I'm going to make it very hard naturally for whatever cornerback's going to try to drive on this route late to get back into the play. So it's not some amazing rep on his part. It's just a little bit of like what he shows in that ability to get up there and go attack that ball. Some receivers will drift back, and they'll let the ball come into them. And then that lets the defender come up and then knock the ball away or make an interception or tip it up. But when you come back to the ball, when you jump up and you're attacking towards the ball where it's going, you're taking that ability for them to drive away because you've already created a little bit of separation. So they tend to be a little bit behind you anyway. So it's a little key just skill that he has on it, but it works, so well. Contacted catch is another thing he brings, which when you combine it, in my opinion, with his ability as far as his catch radius and extending his catch radius, those things go together like peanut butter and jelly. And that's what you get here from him on some of these cuts I'm going to show you right here, which is I can make the catch, I can take the hit, I'm going to reel it in. So he played thin. A lot of these reps I'm going to show you are kind of from 2023. I've got a couple of 24s mixed in, and where he was a little thinner. So you do worry about, okay, what happens when you get hammered? Can you hold on? Are those hands going to still remain consistent? And on some of these, I think you're going to see that that's absolutely the case. As I've said, he is a fully well-rounded wide receiver. Here, one-handed catch, takes the hit. Kind of just a glancing blow, but finds a way to still extend the catch. That's after making a one-hand grab. No biggie. No biggie there. Just don't make this one-hand grab and then make an instantaneous broken tackle. Just what I do in the snow. Just what I do. Just how I live. Talk about a guy, too, who's going to be very comfortable playing in inclement weather conditions and not be thrown off on that. This guy's, played a lot of games in the snow and not great weather out there at Colorado. Hell, his whole pro day was in the snow, for God's sake. Let's give you another angle on this one here. Show you the one-handed. Look at that. That's sweet. He's even got the one-handed catches in his bag. Not too bad, huh? A contact catch here. Rolling his left, throwing a prayer. F it. Tory Horton's down there somewhere. That's literally, you can see the quarterback thinking this, right? You guys seen the meme? F it. My guy's down there somewhere. He'll get it. he'll find the ball. But great ball tracking. Another thing that he does very well. Gets himself in a position to make this catch. And the corner ends up having no chance. Be a big play guy, too. Secondary angle on this one. It's a cool throw there by the quarterback. You can see he's not really he just goes and finds the ball. This is an effort. He throws it down there somewhere. This isn't a pinpoint pass by the quarterback. He's on the outside with the leverage, as you see here. Initially, Horton's on the outside shoulder, and he throws it to the inside shoulder of the defender. So it ends up back to the inside from where it was. So that's just Horton tracking the ball and saying, it's mine. I'm going and getting it. Nice play by Horton here. That QB's literally just throwing that ball up. One more here with a couple different angles on this one to show you. Makes the catch. Instantly kind of takes a little bit of a hit and extends the run. He didn't go for far off this. I can only sometimes show so much of the clip on this, but just the fact that he made a nice catch like that and still then instantly breaks the tackle, as we've seen him do on the one-handed catch a second ago. He turns into a runner. Part of his yak ability is that he instantly turns into a runner. There is no moment of I've got to transition. I've made the catch. I'm going for it. I want to score. He's not just happy to make the catch and fall down. He's looking to go and make something happen with it. Another little angle on this one here. Fenner never gets his head around. Nice catch. Route running. You got to run routes. If you're going to be it does help. If you're going to be a receiver in the NFL, you got to run real good routes. Another part of what he can do is run really good routes. This is part of those drags. I told you they ran 13 drags in that Colorado game. This is just kind of one of them there. But the drag route in particular, he's so quick off the line of scrimmage, and especially on those kind of inside releases, he's going to create quick separation on those kind of routes. We saw that on some of the in-cutting routes at the end zone. Feel on this here, he's going to be in the slot. So you want to target your eyes in on the slot area here, right there. Number 14 is the guy you're going to be looking at here. Watch how sharp the cut is. Boom. Instant separation there. And it's very hard to create separation on short routes. The longer the route, the easier the ability to create separation. And what you need in the West Coast offense is to be able to create separation on routes in short spaces. You don't oftentimes have a 15-yard route to create the separation. It's an offense that's predicated upon the short passing attack, getting the ball into your playmakers' hands and letting them get to work. So being able to create this kind of separation this quick, obviously lined up against a linebacker, but it's a sharp little cut, quick cut there. That's not the linebacker just playing it bad. He creates the separation with this route. Sharp cutting ability this guy has, and that's one of the best things you can have in building up your ability as a route runner. Out route, I showed it to you on the highlight package. This is one of those custom routes he can run really well. Stabs his foot in the ground, gets outside, gets the first down. Another part of what you're going to see with this offense is this offense loves to eat on cover 3 with option routes. So you're going to show me cover 3 like they do here. You got off coverage. You get the corner at the top of the screen giving you a bail drop. That's going to be an indicator to me. I don't know if they have an option route on this, but this is something you would run as an option route in the West Coast offense. Is the guy's trying to stay on top. He's trying to prevent the big play, so let's attack that and get him underneath. And that's what you do with these type of routes when you recognize it. I don't know if that's what this route was or if it's just called straight up. Only the coaches know on that one, but this is another route that's definitely going to translate over into the West Coast offense. Utilize it heavily when you can recognize the coverages as such. A good job with the burst and another out route here. So same route run, eats up the cushion, right? That's the first thing you got to do is eat up the cushion with those first 7-8 steps. Like force that guy to back up, force him into the bail drop. Once you get him into the bail drop, bam, now you can come back underneath and hit the out route. But you got to first really test him and make him believe that thing is potentially going to be a 9 route. But like I said, these are his routes that he can run really well. Those out routes, definitely in his bag. You see that a lot on his tape. So we got him at the top of your screen here. Keep an eye on him up there. He's up top right there. It's going to be an over route. I mean, you watch this route and you tell me right here where you think this thing is going. Is there any indicator he's telling you here of where this is going on an in-cut route? And so what I love about this rep is the defender is playing leverage to take away the inside. Watch the top cornerback, top of your screen. Watch his steps to the right. See how he's trying to anticipate the in-cutting route? So he cuts off Horton. Now, rather than Horton just run into him like a lot of receivers will do, which they'll just be dumbasses and they'll just kind of run into the guy, get all of their momentum stopped, and then they're out as an option for the quarterback. Rather than do that, he cuts around the right side of his shoulder to give him some space to get past him, and then comes back to the middle of the field. Watch it again full speed. Notice the cornerback take that false step inside. That's route running. Route running is not just running the route and being angular and changing direction and doing it. That stuff's a part of it. But part of this too is being able on the fly to adjust to what the corner's doing against you leverage-wise. He wants to get inside here. But rather than force it, he trusts his quickness and his speed and change of direction to get outside the shoulder to come back in. And his patience is rewarded here with a nice play. Over route is another route that you're going to utilize to attack cover 3. Now, this is more of a almost, they're running like a short zone there. I don't even think he's running man. You're just running kind of a short zone there. So I don't even know if this was like the great play call for the coverage that was called. It's kind of a good defensive play call, but better route beats the good defensive play call in this case, I would say. Because that corner's definitely anticipating that thing's going to be an in-cutting route here. And so he's already a little bit ahead of it, but you still get the win. Pretty impressive. Again, I've shown you this play a couple of times already, so I won't belabor this one. You got him up on the top of your screen here on the outside. He's again going to create separation to the out route. You've got off coverage here, so you're already a little bit open to maybe translate, thinking that you're going to get a little bit of a deep drop by the cornerback here, so that off route should be opened up. I think I actually got it wrong on that. He's the slot, so sorry, I marked it wrong on that one. So he's your slot here, but he is running the out route on this one, nonetheless. Good route. Corner plays it really nice. I mean, that corner, it does not get super fooled by what they're trying to do there. He's driving on that pretty quick. But because you're sharp and you're not rounding off your out route here from Horton, he stabs the ground at 30. And then if you look here, stabs the ground at the 30-yard line. And then watch what he does here. Corner's driving. He knows the corner's driving. Goes back and attacks the football. He makes the catch at the 28. So if you get lazy route running from a wide receiver here, they go at the 30 and then they just extend it up on that 30-yard line. Well, what happens then? The corner gets back into the play and makes the play. But if you can just step back to the quarterback 2 steps and help your quarterback out, go get the ball. He still gets the first down, but you go get the ball in that mere just 2 yards. This is a hard thing to notice. It's like sometimes almost just doing it like this is where you can really see it and feel it versus live action. But again, if he just goes at the 30-yard line here, this is where he's making his cut, and he decides to carry that right down the line, that cornerback's knocking that ball away. But because he comes back to the ball, he makes the catch. So not only does he run these out routes really well in that he can change the direction and get out there, he can extend, he can toe tag drag along the sidelines, but that he's also going to be smart as a football player and do things that are those little extra details as a receiver and coming back and helping your quarterback in that way. It's kind of a major little thing on something like that because those kind of routes can be jumped. Those kind of routes you see picked off for a pick six all the time when the quarterback throws it wrong or it's a wrong run route or the guy doesn't come back to the ball like that. So that's why it's so important to me when I see that with the guys doing it. We've seen him do it a couple times on tape here. It's not the first time. A little bit more, one more route running here I wanted to show on this one. You've seen a bunch of this already. This is similar to one of the ones we showed where it's an out route again, but this is him getting the corner to buy up on the fact that he's going to try to press him deep. Corner's at first kind of, you can see the corner's kind of first sitting here thinking he's getting the out route. But then once Horton takes this a little bit wider, so Horton gets right up into him and he's thinking, okay, he wants to take the out route. So most receivers will go right at the corner and then they jut it out. But what he does is he actually carries it a little bit more vertical to get him to then buy into it. He's like, ooh, I got to get up on my horse and start running again. This isn't going out. And then he takes it out. So reading the cornerback on the fly, not just running the route how you're trying to run it in your head prior to the snap. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this. But actually being able to feel what the cornerback is doing and then having kind of what you would call for a pass rusher sort of a counter to then free yourself up to then get the separation here. So if he just runs it up here, if he just runs right into the cornerback and cuts it out, corner's going to jump on this play. But the fact he does this little extra right here, that little extra right there to get up, that gets the cornerback a little challenged into thinking, ooh, this might be a 9. This might be him going deep. This might be a little bit of a skinny fade kind of thing going on here. But instead, boom, nope, I'm cutting it back out. Open, toe tag, drag, makes the catch. And it's, again, multiple things going on at once on this play where it's the great route run, it's the feel for the cornerback, and then it's the finishing of the catch, extending away from your body, and getting the foot in. Spatial awareness, knowing where the sideline is, and getting the foot in. Great play. Great play. But the route running is absolutely in this kid's bag. Contact catching, catch radius. These are things that this kid's got in a major way. I mentioned a little bit as well that this is a guy that brings some yak to the table. Not a part that I featured so far yet, but that is a part I want you guys to definitely get excited about too. And that he's going to extend the catch. You know, he's going to have those times like this where it's just a short little catch like this and he goes and takes it for a lot more. A little bit of the acceleration and then he's gone. Touchdown. It's a short little 7-yard out route and he's out the door with it. Bubble screen. I told you guys he's got the hezzy. I call him the hezzy for this reason. It's not as much a full-on juke. He's got a juke move too, but it's just the hezzy, baby. He's the human hezzy. That's what I call Tory Horton. Takes the bubble screen here. Should have been dead to rights, 2 yards in the backfield. Turns it into a 10-yard gain and a first down. Yeah, he's got yak too. Yeah, that too. Just completely loses this guy. Look how he loses this guy in the open field. Boop. Now that's called a dead leg. Kind of a quasi-hezzy, quasi-dead leg. The guy doesn't even touch him. I mean, the guy doesn't even get a hand on him. Brilliant. Brilliant play. Another bubble screen here. Balance, contact balance, keeps his feet. You feel how hard he fights after the catch too. He's not, as I've said, not looking to go down. He wants to extend this. He wants to keep it going. And he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. Dynamic. Crossing route here. Just innate ability to feel. He makes this catch and he just feels this defender approaching up to light him up. Like this defender thinks it's his birthday. He's about to have some cake. He's about to blow the kazoo. His mom's going to give him a little kiss on the forehead. Like, aren't you happy, son? He's like, this is my day's about to be made. I'm going to take this guy's head off. I'm going to make this guy change his religion. I'm going to baptize this guy twice over on one hit. And instead, Tory's like, yeah, psych your mind. I mean, you go from a moment as a defender to just, I'm going to get a free shot at him, to which way did he go? Which way did he go? That's got to suck, man. You don't get a lot of opportunities to hit a guy like this, but just Horton, change your direction, the field, the stop and start. It's hard to deal with. Another here with a yak, another little drag route. Just grab the drag, go make something happen. Look at that. Got moves for days, man. And he's never dying easy, that's for sure. Bye. Bye. Tackle breaker, this kid. Now, I mentioned the hezzy. Got to show you a couple of the hezzies, man. If I'm going to call him the human hesitation, then you got to see a few of these. Watch this guy. Whoop. Whoop. You are going to see this on NFL Sundays, and especially as a punt returner. I mean, it's just wild because these guys just almost don't touch him. Like, it's almost not even a hand on him. It's so sharp. How about another one? How about another hezzy? We're going to make this stick, the human hezzy. Whoop. See ya. Peace out, bro. I'm getting 16 catches this game, and I'm going to make you look silly. Defenders don't usually tackle this badly when they got a free shot at a guy. It's a skill. How about another one here? I got a couple more hezzies for you. Couple more hezzies. Whoop. See ya. I'm going to hit the brakes. He'll fly right by. Maverick, you can't buzz the tower. Permission to buzz the tower. Right in the middle of the field here. Safety coming up. I got him. No, I don't. Those are horrible missed tackles. I mean, those are the kind that the coaches just keep replaying on Sunday, on the game room and Mondays going, what were you doing? Whoop. See ya. It's a nice little move here. Not a lot of guys have this in their bag to this good of a degree. So I call him the human hesitation, the human hezzy, and hopefully you guys can see why with that. Now, I've shown you a variety of different skills here with Horton. Contact catch, route running, catch radius, yak, the hesitation move. But this guy's not done yet. This is like one of those info commercials, you know? But wait, there's more. It's a little bit like that here in this situation because this guy can actually sling it as well. I showed you guys that he has over 150 yards throwing in college football, and it's because of a gun like this. Look at that throw. I mean, this is not where he's just got some guy wide open. The defense has blown the coverage. This is where he's got to kind of fit it into kind of a tough spot. I mean, the coach might even tell him in these situations like, you can feel free to just throw this over his head. That might be a little tight for us. Defender's got his hand in there and everything. Still able to fit the ball in. So he's got ability to throw the ball. You can use those for the trick plays. I think you'd be silly not to when the guy's done it, got six completions in his career, and certainly trick plays are always helpful to keep teams honest and from cheating a little bit in how they're trying to play you. He's also a really, really good punt returner. But wait, there's more. Where with Tory Horton, you also get a guy that can be a legit threat in this way. Part of it's off of that hezzy stuff, but you can see he's just got a good feel, open field vision as a punt returner for what's going on in front of him. And he can set up his blocks, something you got to do as a punt returner as well. But he's got 3 punt return touchdowns on his resume in his career. Acceleration, speed, get a feel of all that. Bam, he's gone. Work his way through traffic here. Open field vision, touchdown. Right? About another one right here. Quick cuts here, open field, turn on the jets. Got to shake off the long snapper. Got to shake off that long snapper's weak-ass tackle attempt up the shoulders. You ain't bringing me down. Too strong. I'm too strong. Long snapping bitch. Too strong. Can't hold me. So he's got it in his game with the punt returns too as well. And that's this guy. That's what this guy's going to bring to the field. He can play outside. He can play inside. Punt return. Do you want him to throw the ball? Do you want to work him on bubble screens? Do you want to just get the ball in hands in space and let him work in that way? He can do that. And yeah, he does still have, even above that this isn't just a guy that you got to work as kind of a gadgety kind of guy. This is a guy that then also can take the top of the defense off. He can do that too, like you're going to get to see on this play. Look at the separation here. There's 3 yards between him and the other guy. And then even kind of as he's done on a lot of these highlights, which is what I love about him, you see highlights of guys, sometimes they're doing one really cool thing on one play, one thing that really stands out. With this guy on so many of his highlight reels, you're seeing him do a couple of cool things on every play here. He's got separation, and then you're feeling that ball tracking and then that ability to extend his catch radius. Reel a ball in that some guys a little bit shorter, not quite as long, couldn't quite get to this ball. But he does, get his feet in bounds, makes the catch on the deep throw. He can do a couple of different things on every play that is going to make you kind of stand up and go, wow, that was awesome. But this is just one of the reasons that I feel like this guy just might be the biggest steal that we have coming off of this draft when it's all said and done. May not be the best player, may not be that, but be the biggest steal. We're like, man, that guy's going to start for you for 6-7 years at the wide receiver position, and he's going to be above average starter at least for you out there and a dynamic special teams player. And he's going to find a role on this team. And it's like his coach said, when you watch that tape, hopefully you got a feel for it in a way. This kid is just a football player. He's not just an outside receiver, slot receiver, specific to this little box you want to put him in. This guy just plays football, and he's willing to get after it, and he's tough. And as he's shown with his injury and coming back from that, he's willing to work and get after it in that way too. And these are the things that stand out to you when you try to project these players into the next level of how can I have faith that this guy's going to be able to tap into the physical potential that he teases. Well, he's got these kind of items in his bag. It certainly is a helpful indicator that is what is going to happen here. And another thing that lastly stands out with this kid is he was a captain. And it has been a very commonality of this draft through a variety of these different players we're looking at, that they were also captains on their football teams. And it's kind of the wild part when you look at this draft from a Seahawks standpoint of things, and you sort of consider everything back and forth as to how you were able to kind of take care of a couple of different items in one, where so much of this draft was, seemingly, or so many drafts where you seemingly kind of have to, pick a lane one way or the other. And it's not about, if you're going to go and pick for value, then you're going for upside and you're not going to get as much floor, or you're not going to get as maybe much productivity as you'd like to lean back on that. But here with your Seattle Seahawks, they were able to kind of go for both things. And much the same way with this captain stuff, we're not only getting this great player, not only getting the productivity, not only getting the upside, but I'm getting a leader too. I'm getting a locker room leader guy as well, in addition to all of that on top of it. So I don't know how they were able to sort of check all these boxes with a lot of these guys, because you will see a lot of C's on chest when you're looking at these guys and kind of scouting them. But understandable why this guy was made that. This wasn't just because he was a great player. You hear it in the way the coach talked about him and his affinity for him, and how much certainty he has that this kid is going to be a player at the next level. So get hyped about Tory Horton. This one's not empty. None of these guys are from my perspective, but this one most especially as a guy that has me very interested in how you can see why he dropped, and the reasons why he dropped weren't probably particularly fair when you consider him as a captain, when you consider the productivity he has, when you consider the skill set he brings to the table on the football field. But that's sometimes the way the NFL works in these drafts. It's not always fair. You want to be the team to try to take advantage of that if they're going to be stupid and silly in this fashion. Appreciate you guys watching today. If you could for me, please do hit that like button. You know I do appreciate it when you can do that. We've got a couple of donations here with you guys, so we'll get on into that. I do have Sunday, we're going to be doing the call-in show for you guys on that side of it. So if you are a member of the channel or a patron of the channel, please do look at your patrons, look for your email. But if you're a member, do look under your community post, as I have put the link there for Sunday's show, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to call in and discuss a little bit of these Seahawks and the ongoings of what's happening with this team, these prospects, or what you see kind of coming on here into the future, then do please join me on that on Sunday. I'd love to chat with you guys. A couple don't knows. We got Martin Lawrence in the house. It's good to see you, Martin, in the house. Hope you're doing real well. He says, this is an A-plus pick. Excellent value. An outside wide receiver. Good ball tracking. Contested catch. Yak. Projected to go in the low third, high fourth round, and we got him mid-fifth. Indeed. I had this guy with a later third round grade on it because part of what I tell you guys I'm trying to do every year in my outlook and projecting these guys and trying to kind of slot them into the right place of where you should be willing to select them is sometimes being able to look past things that others sort of at a sort of the very shallow level will just allow for them to just ding a guy way down the board. And it's kind of one thing if you're going to ding a guy who may be like a little bit like Elijah Arroyo, where it's okay, you've only had the one good healthy year. Okay, you're still getting injured at the Senior Bowl. Okay, it's one thing when it's a significant amount of injuries or a significant amount of injury time that's kept you out. It's another thing when you've been tremendously productive and then you just have your kind of final year get cut short due to some injury that is not going to leave you in a chronic state, but that you can recover from, as his coach said, that it shouldn't ding you down that much, Martin. And that's why I put him up at the top into that back of the third round is I'm like, look, he's got the 2 years of 1,000 yards. He's got the 18 receiving touchdowns. He's a punt returner. The guy can throw it. He's a good blocker. I didn't show you guys that, but that is another part that he does bring to play as well, is that, the guy can block. I'll show you a couple cuts here. I got set up, but you can see here where it not just block as well. He first tries to set this up as a route and then gets into as a blocker. And well blocked up there. Releases off when he senses the guy's going to go past. Doesn't do too much, does just what he needs to do. So also a really, really smart blocker. Here he's at the top of your screen. Hands inside, blocking well. I called him the complete package on my thumbnail, and this is why. Bottom of your screen here. It's not a fancy block, but he gets into it. Hands are in the right place. He's got a good steady base underneath him. He's going to get a little bit of the leverage win there initially on these blocks. It's not going to be dominant, but it's good enough. Definitely good enough. Here he's blocking down by the goal line to let his guy get in. So you want to watch top of your screen here. Watch top of your screen here what the receiver does here. He's running the out route, realizes the quarterback's running, gets into the block. Just a beautiful block. And watch this block. He just completely gets in front of the guy, gets him sealed. No pathway to the quarterback. Quarterback able to run this in for a touchdown. The full meal deal as a player. This guy gives you everything, and you can see this is why we say just a football player. Just a football player. But I've said, Martin, it's hard to find what was the best value pick in this draft. Where did you have, the guy that was an insane steal to grab, where you got him? Is it Riley Mills that some people had as a top 50 player with the ACL? I think it's this guy, I think. Because I think this guy is going to turn into a starter in this league as long as the health does hold up. And I think it should. I think it absolutely should. But excellent value, Martin. A+ pick. No doubt about that on this one. This is as home run as you're going to get this kind of value where you landed it. I don't know if I can think of a fifth round wide receiver that we had in Seahawks history outside of, Doug Baldwin, who was the undrafted guy, of course, that was this good, that gives you this much upside to his game. Randall McDaniel, thank you for the $5 donation. Randall, it's good to see you, brother. Says Big B, glad to catch a stream. Good to have you in the house, Randall. Minus the injury, round 3 guy, not enough heard of for a late round wide receiver to carve out a nice career. Looks a bit like Darrell Jackson. I like that. Yeah, the Darrell Jackson comp would make a lot of sense here. Darrell, I think, was kind of 6'1", had a little bit of that kind of thinner build as well going to him, but Darrell did have a little bit of an ability like this guy could to change direction and create some yak on the back of that sort of changing direction stuff. I like the comp a lot there, Randall. And yeah, the injury is really where this begins and ends. It really is. Because I don't know what you look at on his tape as an NFL evaluator and say, that these aren't NFL skills that should go to the next level. The route running, the contested catch, the catch radius, the toe tag drag, the yak. I mean, these are a variety of different skills that you would like to have a smattering of, at least in every receiver you have on your roster, but to have the collectiveness of it is something that you would have thought would have drawn teams a lot higher to picking him. And I did have him as a late 3rd round guy, kind of overlooking as much as anything the injuries, because this isn't the thing where he's torn the ACL twice and then he's had a meniscus surgery and then he's had these, the little tissue issues, where they get the soft tissue injuries that go on after you get the major surgeries. This is, hey, he had the knee injury. It happened mid-year. He's gotten over it. 3 weeks prior to his pro day, he was cleared to go full speed. Should be probably good by the time we get to training camp to do all the stuff you need him to do. But it does really seem like in this case, and I'm quite honestly kind of flummoxed by it, because this was not a draft that was very deep as far as wide receivers go. It was not a draft that was very deep as far as outside wide receivers go. So these kind of guys that have his productivity, you think should have been taken a lot higher, that should have been driven then to have them grabbed a lot higher, even with this little bit of this injury thing. But also, we don't know for sure what the medicals are. We don't know if maybe the knee thing is something that teams see as something that will linger and be around for years to come, or if he will get over it. But he is absolutely a guy who shouldn't have gone this deep in the draft, Randall, to your point on that. And if he can give us Darrell Jackson, man, if he can give us that kind of productivity that we got from Darrell, that would be absolutely a steal to be able to grab him and take him there, man. It would for sure. But yeah, I have no other reason I've been able to find. I looked through all of his tape on this, and I had the late 3rd round grade. He's a full skill set wide receiver. You're not really limited with him in any way. Him gaining the 15 pounds maybe would have been the one thing NFL evaluators could have picked out, where they said, well, he's a little too light. He plays it more like about 178, 175. That's not going to maybe work for us as much at the NFL level. We don't buy into that as much. But then you gain the 15 pounds and you go run the 4.41 on your pro day. Doesn't that then kind of cement for the NFL teams? Okay, he can still run really fast, get the extra 15 pounds, which is going to do nothing but help him with the physicality of the NFL coverages at the next level. I don't know on that, though. He was a head scratcher to me, Randall. He really was on this one as to why he drifted, but this can just happen in these drafts sometimes. And certainly coming out of Colorado State, not being maybe a major program like an Ole Miss or an Alabama or Ohio State, maybe that was a little bit of this too on that, where they aren't trusting as much of that, where they're going, how many great receivers have come out of Colorado State? Could be a bit of that there, that play. Thomas Cox, thank you for the $2 donation, Thomas. And it's good to see you in the house too, brother. He says, what is your opinion of Jadeveon Clowney coming back? Well, I've long admitted when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney that I have a soft spot for him as a football player. I found him to be, through a lot of his career by NFL fans, terribly underrated as a player because of the fact that so many fans to me just get caught up on the number 1 overall pick and what people thought he should be coming out versus what he actually is. And though what he is not the ultimate superstar that he was teased, the Hall of Fame kind of possible player he was looked at when he came at, he has been a really, really good football player. He has had a really fine career. And he had his best season of his career, Thomas, when he was with Mike McDonald. That's when he lit it up as well as anywhere else in his career with all of his landing spots. Nowhere was better than with Mike McDonald. And it wasn't just simply because he went to the Baltimore Ravens, who had a good defense and he had a lot of good help around him. And so he could really shine because you couldn't just concentrate on him. That was a little bit of it, because some of what's held Clowney's productivity back throughout his career is wherever he tends to go, he's tended to be the only horse that's really a viable pass rushing threat. And so teams can concentrate a lot of double and triple teams onto him to be able to neutralize him. And when he went to Baltimore, you couldn't do that as much. You had to play it sort of single him up. And then you had the combination of then Mike McDonald really knowing how to use Jadeveon Clowney best, but then the way that he used him best also fitted perfectly to what Mike Macdonald wants to do from his edges, specifically the power side, strong side edge. And so what he wants to do with that, sometimes it can be weak side, a lot of times it's strong side, but what he wants to do with that is he wants to align the guy up in not only a wide 9, I've called it like a wide 10 or a wide 11, because the defender is just so far extended down the line of scrimmage, so far out, that what Mike Macdonald's trying to do with them is give that defensive end a chance to be able to get build-up speed. Because the further out that you get a guy widened out, the longer until the contact happens between the tackle and the edge, that first initial collision. The wider you get out, the longer until that collision occurs. So he would widen Jadeveon out really far out, where a lot of coaches had this desire to try to pull Jadeveon inside at times and get him almost, at times even in as a 3-tech. He widened him out and he said, okay, Jadeveon, here's what you're going to do. You're going to launch off the line of scrimmage and you're going to bowl in a China shop it, and you're just going to come down and just blow everything up in the backfield. I just want you to go hammer that tackle as hard as you can and drive him backwards into the pocket. And I just want you to just do that over and over and over again. And tackles just have an insane problem with it because Jadeveon can convert explosiveness to power when you give him those couple of extra steps to get the build-up speed going. And so, it's a thing where he fits so perfectly here. He had his best year. He's not going to cost a lot of money. The other part that comes into play on this, Thomas, is a little bit of what is the team's intention with Boye Mafe and Derek Hall. I would tend to think that with Mafe, that's a guy that's probably in the sideline to be a guy that they're most likely going to give to a contract extension. I don't think there's any guarantee, and I don't think he's exactly come hugely forward in his game to where you're really feeling comfortable giving Mafe $20 million per year or somewhere around that area of things. I think you're going to get a little uncomfortable when you talk about having to give him that for what you've had from him, because he's been a little bit hot and cold as a pass rusher, and he's been pretty consistent against the run. But he hasn't been a bad player. He's been a good player, but do you want to pay him that kind of money? Derek Hall, guy, turned it on last year as a pass rusher for sure, but is a little bit of a liability against the run. Is he a part of the long-term plans? And so a little bit of this is you sort of trying to figure out where your roster stands with these current edges and what your intention is to do with them long-term. And I think that if you were to bring in a Clowney, it would probably then signal that there would be another move that you would look at making on the other side of it, which would be probably moving one of Mafe or Hall at that point. Because Mafe is going to be a free agent after this year. If you don't sign him to a contract extension, you potentially then just let him walk. So is there a move you could make where you bring in a Clowney who's more of a pure fit to the defense and what he brings to play and able to just cook out there in this defense, and then you can also then move one of your assets on the edge to then go and reinforce maybe another position? Is there a team out there with maybe an outside cornerback that you like, that you could flick a Derek Hall for a outside cornerback? Maybe you would just flick it for a pick in into the future draft next year. There's a lot of creative ways to then kind of do the secondary move on the back of then signing Clowney. It wouldn't have to be that you just carry the 5 edges at that point. But this is a little bit of what I think smart organizations do in regards to the Hull and the Mafe situation, is get a little bit out ahead of those and look out those with a little bit more of a forecasting versus let's just ride it out another year and see what happens. Like you should be able to make the determination at this point on both of those two players about whether they're really truly going to be guys here for the long term, if they're guys that truly, really fit exactly to Mike Macdonald's defense and what he wants from the edge group. I'm not saying I know this for sure. This would just give them an opportunity to go find what is we know to be a pure fit for what they want off the edge, and maybe an opportunity to then peel off a guy that might be not as much a pure fit into this defense off the edge, if that makes sense. So I'm in favor of it, but Thomas, I will fully 100% admit that I am biased beyond hell when it comes to Clowney. I had an opportunity, of course, to game with him a little bit when he was here the last time with him and kind of pick his brain a little bit on there. We were running some Warzone prior. So I would love to absolutely be able to have him back in town and get him back on the West Coast servers. And not to mention that, get him on my football team, because he makes this football team better in 2025. And I think his fit to this defense is just so pure and so true. I really do, Thomas. But thank you, man. Appreciate the donation. Jordan, thank you for the $5 donation, Jordan. It's good to see you in the house, brother. I'm still puzzled how he fell so far. Even with the knee, teams have taken chances earlier in the draft on worse situations. Your thoughts on this are exactly mine, Jordan. I kind of thought over the last couple of days when I did more of the deeper dive into researching him and trying to pull some of these details out, I thought that I was going to come to find with the knee that there was a lot of like bad stuff in there. Cartilage on cartilage. They had to go send him to Switzerland to go get the Regenikine stuff injected into his knee. I thought there was going to be something like that, but instead it just seemed like he had a torqued knee mid-year through the season. Needed to give it a little time, probably like an MCL kind of thing is kind of the general feeling I get off of that one. The MCL can kind of heal on its own, doesn't necessarily need the surgery. But then everything the coach says that he's going to get back 100%, and that he was out there 3 weeks after being cleared running 4.41. So all these are indicators that, at least minor indicators, that the knee's fine and that it's not in some troubled state where it's just going to be horrible and crappy now, kind of forever in that way. I don't see it in how that's going to go. But indeed, that's a little bit of what we're, that seems to be the only thing that we can kind of point to here, Jordan, because you go to him on the football field and you go, okay, 2 years of production prior to this, though. It's not like he had, freshman year, 15 catches, next year had 10 catches. And then, he's got his junior year, he gets himself like 12 catches. And then last year he's got like, 17 catches, and you got a guy with less than 100 receptions in his career that you're trying to, this is a guy with 2,000 yard seasons, 18 touchdowns receiving. He gives you some refuge as far as his ability just as a punt returner. Oh, we're just bringing in a guy who can be the back end receiver on the roster and a super dynamic punt returner. You think that would have some value to it. But I don't get it. And you're not the only one, as you can see in the donations alone, Jordan, that feels this way about it, where it just doesn't add up to you on this particular prospect. I mentioned Arroyo, and it wasn't to pick at Arroyo on that. Not at all. It's more of just when you see in Arroyo, a guy doesn't have the productivity, probably way more worries about his knee, considering how much extra long it took for him to come off of what was actually a torn ACL, because we don't have a torn ACL from Tory Horton. We did have a torn ACL from Elijah Arroyo. And then you have nowhere near the productivity. Not to mention, in Arroyo's case as a tight end, Horton is a much more complete wide receiver and a full-rounded skill set of what he can bring than I would say Elijah Arroyo is as a full skill set, full-rounded tight end. Now, Arroyo gives you some wide receiver snaps, so he's a little bit of a tweener and an in-betweener at that, more than caught between two worlds. He can do a bit of both of the worlds. But I think it's still a valid point to go, but yeah, the math doesn't quite math on this one, where you go, that guy still should have gone up higher. Maybe Arroyo still should have gone up in the second round, but then this guy should have had teams with imagination to understand that this guy should have also been carried up a little bit higher as well. And I don't have a good reason. Usually with you guys, I can make a little bit of a guess on this, Jordan, as to, well, this is what the teams were thinking, or this came out and this happened. But there's nothing with this guy. I mean, even the character, there's no character concerns. He's a captain on the team. He seems to be a leader. I mean, it all the way around. You look at him 360 degrees, and there's no real part there that jumps out as to why he fell this far, especially in a wide receiver class that's not deep, that's filled to the nine with a half and half class of slot wide receivers and outside receivers. Just a few square set guys that were true outside guys that were going to win at the next level in that way. And he was one of them. So just, there is no good reason here. There really isn't. It's kind of just, this is one which would seem like, maybe it's me being a homer here, but just would seem like the NFL just completely missed the boat on this one. They missed the boat. Thomas Cox, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, what round would Horton be drafted if he wasn't injured last season? Well, I'm going to do a little bit of projection on this one, Thomas. This is absolutely a projection in this one. But it's also just, in looking at the recent NFL history of these guys, I don't have a guy that I can qualitatively, and I'm going to build the case in this way, Thomas. He doesn't get injured this season. He goes out there and he puts another 1,000 yards up. He goes and gets himself another 8-9 touchdowns receiving. He's got the punt return touchdown already on the books last year in just the 5 games. Maybe he adds another one throughout the course of the year. The coach said today that he added the 15 pounds. He's only was cleared for the pro day 3 weeks prior, but yet ran a 4.41. That tells me that if you gave that guy another 8 weeks, that he's probably more of like a 4.37 guy. That maybe he's like a 1.51, 1.52, 10-yard split guy. If you have him just a little bit more healthier with just a little bit more time to get right. So I get a guy now with 3 seasons back-to-back with 1,000 yards, 27 touchdowns receiving in his 3 years at college at Colorado State, who is the punt returner he is, who can throw the ball, who runs then the testing times of like a 4.37 with a 1.52 10-yard split. I mean, Thomas, as our baseline on this, I may be wrong, but I mean, the baseline on that is a guy that should go probably at the back end of the first round to the top of the second round. Who can we think of? I mean, it's not even where you go, well, he's 5'9" and 175 pounds. You're saying that at that point of a guy who's over 6'2" at 195 pounds. And I can't think of anything historically. I can't think of a guy historically who would have accomplished all that, who would have tested that well, who would bring that kind of size, who would bring that full skill set, who would be a captain on the team, and then who wouldn't go into the top of the second round. I mean, that almost seems like just too easy of an evaluation at that point. But again, I will say on this, I might be missing something a little bit with this one because it's such a stark drop to go from what I'm trying to sell him to be that to then where he went in the actual 5th round. Where you go, man, something isn't quite adding up here for a guy to go that far with that much he's got in his history to prove who he's been. But that seems to be the case. But I would go, I hope you agree on this, Thomas. I would go high second round. There's no real deficiency to his game at that point that you're going at on what you see from him on tape. Route running, contested catch, toe tag drag, catch radius, ball tracking, sideline spatial awareness, just body control, the hesitation move, an ability to block. It's all there. I showed it to you guys on tape. I mean, it's there on bright display for these teams, but I guess just sometimes you just have prospects NFL-wise that you just, you miss the boat on, or maybe we'll see that they're proven true once we get to training camp on this one, but I lean heavily on to where I stand, and I stand firmly here. I think the NFL missed it on this one. I think the NFL just got too caught up on the final year of the injuries and being at Colorado State and not caught up enough on what he really was and what he really accomplished out there. So, yeah, I think high second round, Thomas. I do. I can't think of a guy that would have put up that kind of productivity in recent years that would have drifted into like even the 3rd round. Only if maybe they're really super undersized, super light, small, super small catch radius with like 29-inch arms. There'd have to be some kind of explanation like that. But there is none there with Tory. He's got it all in that way. Me coming in the house. Oh, me, it puts a big old smile on my face. I see that big old $50 donation drop, and we're going live here with you, man. I do really, 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 really thank you for that. You are awesome. Awesome on that front of it, man. I really, really, really do appreciate you for that. He says, but wait, there's more. He blocks too? What a player. I am so excited for this young man, says me. Yeah, he blocks too. And he blocks too, as you can see. There is a very, very easy way when you're watching players that are receivers trying to block to tell when their heart is in it and to tell when they could really be less affected to try to do anything. And in this guy's case, over and over again, when you do watch him block, you're watching the effort there. You're watching the guy that goes out and not only is the effort there, but like a rep here, me, that I want to show you where he's at the top of your screen. He first hits him with the shock inside release to get the guy in a little bit of a panic state. Oh, I got to panic. I got to get my hips flipped and start to turn and burn. Oh, nope, I'm blocking you. And he uses the inside shock release to get himself positioned between the defender and ball carrier, right? That's what that inside release does. But then he's able to do it to also make the corner think you're going into a route. I got to cover you. I'm not here to tackle the ball carrier. I'm here to cover, but then I'm locked in on the block and I've got you taken care of. So he also does it with a little bit of panache. He gets the job accomplished. He does it with effort. You can see the hands getting inside and him coming and driving up as a blocker in those moments to get the leverage win. He's not, taking guys on a ride, but as a receiver, you don't usually have to take guys on a ride, me with those cornerbacks, because those guys are already looking for reasons to make business decisions, aren't they? They already don't want to tackle. They're out there to cover and get picks. They do it begrudgingly. So if you get a guy that can block it well, that can be just enough in itself at times to just take what little fire might exist in the cornerback to go make the tackle and put a bunch of water over the top of it. But yeah, he blocks too. And it's why I said you got the full skill set with this guy in my thumbnail, is that this guy gives you everything, me. He gives you everything you could want from the wide receiver position. Is there one starry status point to his game where, he's going to be a Savion Williams as a yak guy? Not necessarily to that, or be some just insane route runner like some of the other guys at the top of this draft who are really, really good route runners in that way, or have the insane catch radius of a guy like Tatora McMillan. No, he's not going to have the one point on his skill set that just jumps out beyond all else and makes him a no-brainer. Probably why he wasn't, maybe as we're looking for some of the reasons on this, me, as to why he didn't go higher. A big point of why that didn't occur is that, he's got a lot of good. And there's good here, and there's good there, and there's good up here. But where's the great, they would ask? And I'd say that if you've got a receiver that's got good everywhere all through their game, you don't need the great. And that usually when you get the great with other receivers, you're getting a lot of bad in other areas. Insane catch radius, but does he have the fire to run out every route 100% of the time as hard as he can? Does he really want to block? Or does he give you any yak ability on the side of it? But with this guy, you get all of that stuff. And good, collectively like that, all the way across the board in that way, can sometimes be an equivalency to greatness. Because you can use all of that. It's every turn your good is building on your game, is adding on your game like another layer on top of one another. Just stacking it up. But there's more. The kid he's the human Hezzy. He's the college football version of an infomercial. But this guy's hopefully going to like the guy that slapped the tape on the hole back in the day there, and it sticks in and seals the hole. Hopefully he can be that here for our wide receiver core as we go into this next year, because now we need a guy on the rise. Now we need young guys to kind of be developing in. Jackson Smith's locked in as your slot. You've got Cooper Kupp as your kind of Mr. Everywhere guy. You got Marquez Valdes-Scantling as your burner. We don't quite know where Bobo's going to fully fit into this offense, but with this guy now, I think we've got a pure outside guy that can go there, win in the future, and win well out in the future, and be a hell of a player for this team in a variety of different ways, me. I think he's going to show up as a pass catcher, and I think absolutely as a punt returner too. You're going to feel his ability in that way as well. So thank you, man. You've been a tremendous man, and I appreciate you for all you've been doing for the channel throughout this off season, as you've been dropping every stream, big old donation up onto the stream, and it really is appreciated, man. I really thank you. You're helping me out big time here at the Hawks Nest, and I'm really glad to hear too from you guys that it seems like you guys are really resonating with the shows this week and doing these daily shows, and that you guys have loved them. So I really do thank you guys for rolling with me with these new changes and understanding why we're kind of doing it here, and that this is going to be something that's just going to be about getting you guys more content, not less on that way, just finding a way to do it more efficiently and hopefully more improved, as we're always trying to get better here at the Hawks Nest in addition to that. But God's gang, you are the man. I thank you, man, for that $50 donation, me. Little applause there for that, man. Thank you, man, for big old donation. I hope you're having a great Friday. But we're getting a hell of a player, me. I'm telling you that. Seth K. Aloha. Thank you for the $5 donation, Seth K. Aloha. B, how much value do you see in bringing in a beast like D-Law, not only for his play, but also helping develop our young edge rushers? Well, there's the more guys that you can have in the building for young edge rushers to give them brains to pick and to give them little tricks of the trade that you can pass on. It is one of those things that's very hard to sort of track as to which player might be able to bring it versus another one. But it is one that when you have it, it is worth its weight in gold. And that this was one reason that KJ Wright back a few years ago said that, what he brings to the locker room alone is worth a couple $1 million every year, because he's helping the other players out. He's giving them tips and tricks and lessons that can, help them in a way that otherwise they would just be trying to learn it on their own and figure it out on the fly. And if you can have a guy that can kind of give you a cheat code, be like, no, just do this with your hand and just do that. They're always technically told to do this. So if you just take your hands in on that, you don't have to think it all through. Just do that. And then just pivot to this other move and you're good to go. I just got to do that. Yeah. You're just taking advantage of their technique at that. Oh, okay. I'll try to implement. Oh, wow. That worked. And it's good to go. I certainly would say that a guy like Micah Parsons developing as fast as he did as a pass rusher, I wouldn't sit there and say, well, you got to give all the praise there to Lawrence as bringing him along. But I certainly would say Lawrence was a big helping factor in that, in bringing him along quicker. So it will help. I think you've got some other guys in there that are also do provide this a little bit as it stands right now, with Chenan Nwosu's, I think, a bit like this kind of guy. Leonard Williams is kind of that kind of guy that can help you in that way. Hankins, obviously, being a vet in there, can help in that way too. So, yeah, it's good to be able to bring a guy in there that can do that. I think a guy like Derek Hall maybe be able to pick some tricks up from Lawrence. And the reason being is that there are some similarities to their games and how they really, win at the forefront with power. They're not necessarily pure technicians, but they are just kind of beastly guys that can just kind of bully up on tackles at times. So maybe there's some stuff that he can kind of show Hall on that to be more effective, in that way. I also think that really with Lawrence, a big part of what he's going to help here in developing the edge rushers and certainly maybe giving him some of those tips and tricks is also being able to be the early rundown defender. And that there's going to be less of a need and desire to have to be getting pass rush productivity from Lawrence. You'd like it if you can get it, and you certainly want it to be there, but you're bringing him first and forefront to come in and be a power edge early rundown, set a hard edge, relieve maybe some of these young edge rushers of some of those early rundown snaps. And then maybe the thinking would be that in relieving some of those snaps, keeping them a little bit fresher, now they can be better as pass rushers when you have to set them out there on a 3rd and long and tell them to, pin their ears back and go 100% full steam, lay it on the line kind of thing. Versus when you're playing them a couple extra snaps. I think something that does stand out a little bit to me on this, Seth, is in recent years, our defensive line snap rotations and the snap counts in particular have really gone through the roof too high at times. And that we get guys we're playing too many snaps, and I think it then leads to a little bit of wearing down over the course of the year. So he'll help a little bit with the tips and tricks, but some of it is also a little bit of the relief on early rundowns. I mean, those are the kind of plays too that can be some of the most taxing when you're, launching off the line and you're locked up with a guy and you're just fighting for 5 seconds like your life's on the line and giving your whole body up to it. I mean, that stuff can tap you out versus just launching off the line of scrimmage and just trying to get upfield and see if you can run past the guy. So it'll help in a couple of ways in that way. But yeah, getting a vet like this in the house, getting a vet like this in the building is very beneficial to these young guys and giving them a guy who's seen it and who's done it. And there's all these little tricks in playing the sport. There's all these little tricks in being a good pass rusher that you can bring into play. A foot stepped here versus step there, hand placement here, then going to this. It's a lot of little stuff in there, but he will be able to help out. And then just one other little minor way is I think that there'll be a little bit more implementation this year of the stunt and the loop game from the Seahawks defense. That was a big part of what the Cowboys were doing there with Dirty there, and I feel like they did some of it last year, but I would not be surprised if there was more of that brought to bear this season. And that's something that Lawrence can do a really good job of as well. Stunt and loop, and you get him to twist, and he gets to come full speed, up the A gap. That guy's a load to block, especially for a center trying to handle him one-on-one. So yeah, he brings a lot of value in that way, Seth, and I definitely think he's going to help these young pass rushers along for sure. Thomas Cox, thank you for the $5 donation, Thomas. I appreciate you for that. He says, is Mafe Hall worth $20 million, or can Seattle find someone better? Well, this is going to be a bit of a controversial opinion, so I always am going to try to preface my controversial opinions in this way. I'm not looking to die in this ditch. I am not looking to fight it out like Custer on a hill in regards to this next point that I'm going to present. This is something that I just sort of tacitly feel about the Mafe Hall situation, and that is as follows. I have a little more faith in Mafe than Hall at this point, that there can be another step that he can take in his game to getting to more of a place where you can feel comfortable in paying $20 million a year. Where it stands right now is with both of them, I don't feel comfortable spending that kind of money as it stands right now. I don't think that we get the kind of productivity that is worthwhile to paying them that. And that if we make that recognition right now, I feel like there could be more of a drive then at that point to look to see if we can find more of maybe a quantitative difference maker for the edge. Rather than getting two semi B plus guys, you go and you actually try to find an A- to an A. And so I think I would be more well suited to where if I'm going to get into that $20 million territory of things, Thomas, I want a difference maker off the edge. Mafe's found some productivity, but Mafe's been very hot and cold too as a pass rusher. It's been a little dinged up. And not dinged up where he's kept off the field, but where he's dinged up to where you're feeling like he's way less effective as a player because he is so kind of dinged up. Hall is still not yet played the run. And as a pass rusher, he's not an efficient pass rusher. Had a lot of bites at the apple last year to get the pass rush productivity that he did. You give a guy 700 snaps as a pass rusher, it's like, okay, well, then when they get the 7-8 sacks, it's cool, but it's not necessarily meaning it's superly done as an efficient pass rusher. And when you look at Hall's grades in particular, it doesn't speak to a guy that's necessarily was efficient in getting the pressure he was able to get. There were some cool moments, and let me not undersell it. Hall came forward in a major way last year from where he was in his rookie season, but he gave you nothing in his rookie year. He gave you 0 in his rookie year. So I find myself landing on the spot of, while I don't think either of these players are bad, I think that they're productive NFL players. I think that there's still some upside with both of them. But that $20 million decision is coming down the line, and you're not going to be given 3 years to make the call on this. Maffe's going to be a free agent after this year. You got to decide almost the here and now, do you want to pay that or do you want to let him walk for nothing? And if you let him walk for nothing, you're probably not going to be able to play the compensatory game because you have so much cap freed up right now that you can go out there and spend for next year's space, that whatever you end up losing him for on some contract in free agency, you're going to just sign back up in-house. So you're not even getting the comp pick back on that one like you might in other cases. This would then lead me in that case to being more open to then doing him as a player that I would look to move. Especially with having a guy like Clowney out there on the market where you bring Clowney in for a couple $1 million. Yeah, he's not a long-term solution here being Clowney, but you're doing it with the thought of, we'll get by for the immediacy, and then the long term, we're looking for the actual kind of more of a difference maker kind of cat that can come in and be kind of that full meal deal, a TJ Watt type or a Micah Parsons type, or into that kind of lane of like, pushing up into sort of 14, 15 sacks a year, really being a problem off the edge that offenses have to account for. I'd kind of like to see this defense, McDonald's defense, be one where even when you saw the Ravens there and him with the Ravens, past Clowney in that final year, and when they had Clowney kind of almost close to that place I'm talking about, just being that grade A dynamic edge guy, that he's not really had that guy necessarily yet in his defense. And that I'm kind of wonder about what it would be like if you were able to supply it and bring that guy in that could, really be that game wrecker off the edge. So that's kind of at the heart of what I'm thinking with this, Thomas, and why I'm leaning in that direction of things. I get a little uncomfortable at the thought of $20 million that you'd have to pay for both of them. But I do think that would be the going rate. We can haggle and get into semantics about whether or not it's $20 million a year or whether it's $17.5 million a year. It's going to be a lot of money that I'm not going to be comfortable spending because I don't think I'm exactly getting quite the productivity that I want if I'm going to spend that kind of coin. I want my bang for the buck. I don't want to overpay for kind of slightly above average play. I don't think that's the pathway to success or creating an elite team. And I think we could stand to get some more, difference makers working off the edge rather than so many of the kind of just B+ level kind of guys you're trying to roll out there right now. It might work though with just 4 B+ guys. So I'm not out on that either, but that's kind of what my thinking is with this, Thomas. I think you can do a little bit better when you're going to start getting into the territory of spending that kind of money. You got the guy on the rookie contract, you got him the rookie second round contract. That's one thing. Then spending the $20 million on a multi-year deal, that's a whole nother ball of wax. God's Gang, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, what's your comp for Horton in the modern day NFL? Well, I'll tell you, God's Gang, and thank you for the donation. Randall did a really good job earlier with the Darrell Jackson one. I like it specifically because it's one that's really built on having some Seahawks history with it as well. Let me I was thinking a bit about this and I didn't land on somebody that was, there we go. That's the one. It's actually a really good question on the comp. Man, you might have stumped me on this one. I don't know if I like this one. I've got one. So I got one that I'm going to settle on if I can't figure out one that's better here for you on this. This one isn't bad, but I kind of feel like I could maybe do a little bit better. Well, I think, I think you could make the case that I think you could make a pretty strong case of there being a very close comp to Brandon Ayuk, to be honest with you on this one. I might be a little bit over my skis on this because Ayuk was a former first-round pick, but he was a late first-round pick. I mentioned that if Horton had had his final year, God's gang, of last year of college production, he's 3 straight years with 1,000 yards receiving, that guy's probably up in the top of the second round or the back end of the first round, which is right where Brandon Ayuk went. And Brandon Ayuk was 6 feet tall, 205. So, they're within about 7-8 pounds of each other. Ayuk ran a 4.5. This kid ran a 4.4. Ayuk had a 1.52 10-yard split. I think this kid was 1.53 or something like that. Ayuk had about a half-inch longer arms, but this kid's got about 2 inches more height on him with it. The vertical leap for Brandon Ayuk was 40 inches. This kid was 37 inches. So I would say that I would go to kind of that comp. I think that these guys are similar. Ayuk is probably a little bit of a better route runner. This guy is probably better as a yak guy after the catch. But I think if I wanted to shoot for the moon on this one, God's gang, and give you the brightest comp I can grab that of what he could probably attain to become, I think Brandon Ayuk is the guy to take a look at. On a little bit maybe of a lower level, for if we don't want to go quite up to the Brandon Ayuk level of it, how about a Darius Slayton? Kind of a Darius Slayton type. Kind of in that territory is where I would probably be with it. But it's hard because there's so many of these, as looking through the comps, there's so many of these guys that are so kind of they specific in their skill set, and what they bring is looking through the top wide receivers as you kind of just go through bit by bit on some of these guys. I mean, some of them are just the angular kind of route runner kind of guys, sort of your Drake London types. You got your smaller slot guys with your arm on the same rounds. You've got your yak guys, your just all around tough dudes like Terry McLaurin kind of type guys, your Mike Evans that are just super big and able to use really their length and size. Some freak shows in there as well, but not as many guys kind of built like him quite in that manner of things in the league right now. But I like the Ayuk comp the more I think about it, actually, God's gang. I'm going to lean on the Ayuk comp because I want it to be. And the guy does block like Ayuk does block. So I think there's some fitting in there. Ayuk's a little bit better route runner, but I think there's some close similarities between these two players. Random McDaniel, thank you for the $2 donation. Says the other name I thought of was Nate Burleson. Ooh, I love that comp too, man. That's another very, very good comp. Another guy can play a little outside, little inside. Absolutely a dynamic punt returner. Really good hands. I like the Nate Burleson too as well, because it's a guy that you look at and you go, there's no real defining point of his skill set that I can pick out, where I see the speed, I see the size, or I'm feeling length, or he's super explosive, but it's just that you take all of the skills down the line and they're all, that's that whole, everything's kind of good. Everything's has got a good grade behind it. And there's no spot that's some huge deficiency, some glaring hole in their game that can be exposed when they're on the field. They're going to be pretty clean. Going to be pretty clean. So I would say that, Nate Burleson is a great comp. Randall, you came in with two of them, man. Burleson, and maybe like if Nate Burleson and Darrell Jackson had a baby, it would be Tory Horton. Maybe that's the best way to put this comp, Randall. It's an old reference. You got to watch a lot of, I've watched a lot of Seahawks games back in the day, but that would be my kind of combination. And I like it. Yeah. Burleson had a great catch radius too. He could go out there and extend and reach for it. Very athletic, good body control, a guy that could be good around the sidelines. So I like the Burleson one as well, Brandel. I was struggling on this one too with Tory. I was trying to think of a comp coming into this and I couldn't quite fully land on something that felt right, but both of yours two are right on the button, man. Right on the button. Thank you, Randall. It's good to see you in the house too today, brother. Thomas Cox, thanks for the $2 donation. Have you done a Mills show yet? A Mills show. Oh, Riley Mills. Okay. Sorry. I'm a little slow today. It's Friday, Thomas. It's Friday. I'm going to be doing Riley Mills is going to be Monday. We're going to be doing the show on that one there. So we've got, you should have it up on your deal with, you should have it up on your deal with the notifications for the deal on that. But yeah, we've got, bring it up here. We've got 12 o'clock on Monday. We're going to be doing Riley, looking at Riley Mills, but it should be up on your guys's, here we go. This is the one right here. So we got the big brawler we're going to be taking a look at here on Monday. Notre Dame 3-tech. Sometimes they used him a little bit out at the edge, but just a big, burly, he's there to just kind of just blow things up. He's a little bit like I was describing Clowney coming off the edge. With Riley Mills, Thomas, that's this guy coming up the middle, where it's not him whipping out a bunch of pass rush moves or showing you a bunch of dip and bend and look at the rip and look at the counters and look at the, it's that this guy is a big burly man that just dropping dominoes into the backfield, just dominoes falling every which way. He's just knocking bowling pins over. That's what you're watching with this guy. And it's a hard evaluation on Riley Mills, because so much of what Notre Dame does in the pass rush stuff, especially, and it's the pass rush that really makes him go, is so much of it is stunts and twists and loops with that team. And it's constant. I mean, he launches off the line of scrimmage sometimes. He attacks the outside tackle, and he's just looking to slam the tackle in his face. I mean, just looking to just knock his block off, just to then free up the edge rusher to cut inside and twist around him. And so a lot of times he's got that sort of, I've got a duty to do something on this play that's not me just getting to the quarterback. But then that makes it tremendously difficult at times to always assess him as a player, because he's fitting to what the role of the defense asks him to do versus lining up and just whooping the guy's butt in front of him. But it makes it fun tape to watch. So prepare yourself for that on Monday. On Riley Mills is you're going to watch the human bowling ball just knocking over pins in the backfield. That's just what this guy does. So it's not always graceful. It's not always poetic. It's not going to be high art on Monday. It's going to be a little bit of pure chaos here in looking at Riley Mills' tape. But he is a fun player. It is a move that is a bit for the future with him, on that you're looking at a guy who would have been a top 50 player probably if he would have been healthy and able to go this past year or all the way through and hadn't torn his ACL like he did. So it's a guy that you're really hoping to get that benefit of that final injured year. Probably going to be a guy that's going to be on the pup maybe for a lot of this season. A guy that they maybe just kind of keep in reserve and try to just give him that sort of red shirt year to get the knee right, develop. We don't really need you. We already got a bunch of 3-techs here. He is not a nose tackle. That is a little bit something that people have been talking about. That's not his game. That's not how he's wired. That's not how he's built. He's not going to do that kind of stuff. He is a 3-tech pure and simple / maybe every once in a while you can move him out as kind of being an edge. But a lot of talent on this kid still. So a lot of ability. There are some things we're going to look at that I'm not as quite big on. Guy needs to keep his feet a little bit bigger and better. But we will be covering that on Monday for you guys as well. And we will be maybe getting a show to you guys as well tomorrow on Saturday. I'm kind of trying to get the goal here to try to get something going every day if I can on this. So I think I've got a surprise show coming in for you guys tomorrow, Saturday. We're going to do maybe 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Well, maybe do 1 o'clock. I'll be up late tonight. It's Friday night. I'm going to be up late. That's the way it goes. But we will be back tomorrow for a quick show as well. I want to cover a little bit of a topic that's come up that's a little bit separate of the draft, having to do with Vegas and a little bit of their outlook here with the Seahawks win total coming up this next season, as Vegas seems to be underselling on your Seahawks once again. But we've been there before, haven't we? In fact, did a little bit of a deep dive that might provide you guys some information that's kind of interesting in regards to this. So a little bit of a tease there. Tomorrow we'll be coming back with another show. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, standard time tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. Riley Mills on Monday, and then we are loaded to the hilt throughout next week. We got Robbie Oots bringing back the fullback. Fullback's coming back into play, baby. And then we've got Ricky White also on the margins there. Maybe a little bit of Bryce Cabledew. And we talked a little bit about a couple other things having to do with your Seattle Seahawks. So we're going to keep rolling throughout this offseason. I've got a big plan in place to keep coming in with these shows every single day with you guys. Monday through Friday at the very least, with us trying to kind of work in some weekend shows as well. We'll be getting a Saturday show in, and then we'll be doing the call-in show on Sunday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So if you're a member of the channel, do keep an eye out on your community post, as that's where you will see the link to that show. I've already put it out there, but I will also put it out there on the day of on Sunday, just to kind of give you guys a notification on that if you happen to have missed the first one. I again thank you guys for rocking with me on these new shows and with this new format. I really appreciate you guys keeping in the cut with me on that one. God's Gang is going to finish us off real nice here with a final $5 donation. And you guys have been kind as ever on that front of things. I really do appreciate you guys for still being just awesome in that way here, even with the shorter shows. God Gang says, could Kubiak be a better offensive coordinator than Schottenheimer? I think it could be very interesting the more I think about it and what he brings. When people were asking me through the offseason, God's Gang, about who I wanted as an offensive coordinator, who were the list of guys that I wanted, I kept coming back and taking away and paring the list down. There was no list for me. I had something that I really was specifically looking at and wanting to see with this team. I wanted them to attack this in a way of grabbing somebody that was very specific because they took care of things that I wanted to see taken care of. A commitment to the running game, an advanced offense, an ability to take an offense that they might have inherited in many ways, much like McDonald, where he inherited the Buddy Ryan defense or the Wink Martindale defense, whatever you want to call it, and then he's adjusted it into something wholly new. He's made it his own. He's got a mind and a brain that's big enough to be able to expand past just wash, rinse, repeat. This is the way we've always done it for 20 years. He shows that ability to me in a major way. And Kubiak was that guy. People kept asking me, and I kept telling you guys, I want Kubiak. I want Kubiak. Because he fulfilled all of what I wanted to see from that new offensive coordinator. And is he better than Schottenheimer? You better believe light years ahead of Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer has a head coaching job right now with the Dallas Cowboys, not as much because he is just some sensational head coaching candidate, but because the Dallas Cowboys are a joke. They're a freaking tour as much as anything else at this point. And so they can't attract the best and the brightest coaches out there. And so they've got to talk themselves into guys. They got to pick through the lesser parts. And something that's always stood out to me with Schottenheimer is that he's got a lot of limitations in what he does bring to the table. Has he done some good things too in addition? Did he get the best years out of Russell Wilson? Sure, yeah. Do I feel like he really brought Russell hugely forward? No. I feel like a big part of the Schottenheimer getting the most out of Russell Wilson was leaning into more of the stuff with Russell Wilson deep than it was, kind of helping him refine some of the things in his skill set that he needed refined at that time. Mainly more of the commitment to taking the easier completions and to moving the chains and just to finding more consistency offensively in that way. So I don't even think like the work he did there was some unbelievably great job that just was like, wow. Even in Dallas the last couple of years, I think McCarthy's been actually calling the plays. So he's been the OC, but not even been really the true blue OC. He has a lot of both of these two guys are guys that inherit a lot of their offensive, if not wholly their offensive system from their father. And the difference is that Schottenheimer is running Marty ball, 1980 style, with some adjustments and evolutions obviously baked in over these last 40 years. And Kubiak is not just running his Kubiak dad's offense and just it's a wash, rinse, repeat thing. It is a different offense. There's more, it's not even an offense that goes to the same stuff of like a Shanahan. There's more deeper concepts built into it. I think there's even more than Shanahan. I think he's got more where he leans into a heavy amount of eye candy and really working the ball in a variety of different areas to keep the defense from really pinpointing a place that they know you're trying to attack and then try to take that away, that we're just kind of hitting you every which way but loose and you can't get a feel for where we're trying to hit you at. So I just feel like he's head and shoulders above where Schottenheimer is as a play caller, a sequencer of plays. I think he's going to be a better adjuster. One of the big issues with Schottenheimer, and has been a big issue for many times, is that he can bring a good plan A to play on Sundays. Here's my plan A. Ooh, that was devastating. That was great. Hey, get in the third quarter, defensive coordinator adjusts against that plan A. Does Schottenheimer have a plan B to adjust then against that adjustment? No, he doesn't typically have that. So there are good things to Schottenheimer's game. I don't think he's a bad coordinator, but I do think that there's some limitations to him. And in Kubiak, I'm not so sure that I have anything that I really see standing out with him that I go, oh, there's that limitation. There's this limitation. He's had a little bit of a more smaller sample size as far as offensive coordinating than Schottenheimer has. I think he's got, 3 collective years in doing this, but I believe that there are 3 collective years that I would all consider to be successful. even that last year in New Orleans, you can't really look at that year and go, what would the offense was? Spencer Rattler was their quarterback for a lot of the year. How much are you going to take away on that? They lost half their offense to injuries. That has nothing to do with him. When he had them in healthy, when he had them rolling full go, team was averaging like 40 yards, 40 points a game through the first few games of the season. And it's only once they had the injury epidemic hit in, Derek Carr throwing hospital balls to Chris Olave and whatnot, that's where you started to see their offense go backwards. But then you take what he did with Minnesota and when he had a healthy team there and when he had Kirk Cousins and that was his first ride going as an offensive coordinator, he took right off. So it really comes down to that for me, God's gang, is that one, I can see there being some maybe limitations there with the one guy and I can pick it at some specific things within them. With the other guy, I don't see there being anything but kind of upside to him. I see the trajectory in a Kubiak of being a coach here in the next couple of years, a head coach at that, and that he's a true blue, bright offensive mind. His father was a hell of a coach as well in that way. He knew how to call plays. He knew how to get a productive offense put together. And I just have ultimate confidence that Kubiak can do the same thing, and that we haven't even seen the best of Kubiak yet. And that we might get that chance here to really truly get that because now he's going to be put in the right environment with the right talent, with the right team in place to maximize his scheme to the ultimate. So I locked in on him early in this process, God's gang. This is one of those places I'll admit to being completely biased upon, but I didn't see another candidate out there that had this much that he brought. That you're getting all of this in what you want, commitment to the running game, sequencing of plays, taking away some of the, helping to mitigate some of the issues with the offensive line, bringing in the offensive line coaches who are so good at their job, who've got such a pedigree in the sport, of such a rich history of bringing offensive lines up. All of that brought to bear with this guy. And I don't think that anybody else that you were going to look to target, maybe they wouldn't have paled in comparison, but I think that they would have been a big step back from this hire if you had gone a different direction. So I love the hire. He's light years ahead of Schottenheimer. Schottenheimer's getting that job as much as anything because of the Dallas Cowboys' inequities, their dysfunction. You got players that talk about how it's like they feel like they're literally on a tour. You got them sitting there lifting weights and they're running tours through the facilities out there as you're trying to lift weights and stuff. Can you imagine that? Like, what a joke. But he's way better all day long. And they made the right hire here. And I think it's going to pay off, God's gang. I think it's going to pay off big time for this team. But thank you for the double dip donation. I really appreciate you for that. You guys are tremendous as ever on that side of it. Martin Lawrence, Randall McDaniel, Thomas Cox, Jordan, Thomas again, me with a $50 donation, Seth K. Aloha, God's gang multiple times, Randall multiple times over. You guys are amazing in your support here to the channel. I really appreciate it. And we're going to keep this going throughout the offseason. There is no slowing down here at the Hawks Nest. There is no offseason at the Hawks Nest. We're going to finish next week getting through some of the players that we want to take a look at in this upcoming, from this last draft and get a little bit of a deep dive into them. I got a couple of UDFAs on one of the days of this next week we're going to take a look at because I got a couple of guys that we got that I think we should be really excited about. As good as this draft class was, Zy Alexander might become a starting corner eventually for you. And do not sleep on Jared Ivey. Ivey was a hell of a get in the UDFA train of things and a guy that I'm really excited about. Didn't test well, but that's just another guy you look at and go, he's just a football player. So we'll be back tomorrow, 1 o'clock. We're going to get rocking back out with this. I've got a special topic I want to cover tomorrow in regards to Vegas and a little bit of their outlook for your Seattle Seahawks this upcoming season and why they landed where they landed. So be on the lookout for that. I'll get that posted up here just after this show. I do thank you guys for watching today. If you can for me, do please hit on that like button. You know it does help me out. It helps the channel improve. I know it's a little thing to ask you every time to do, but it is something that does resonate with YouTube, and that this then pushes my content to other people looking for daily Seahawks coverage. So you can not only help me, you can help others out there looking for cool, grade A content and get this channel cooking along as we're looking to do here through this off season. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Appreciate you for that. We will be back here in less than 24 hours here with another show for you guys. We just keep this rolling down the road. Get excited about this team. I don't know where we're going to go exactly this upcoming year. Vegas is selling low on us, but the potential is there. The potential is through the roof. The young talent is still sitting and residing on this team and developing and growing bit by bit by bit. And you never know when you have that great assemblage of talent when it will suddenly light, when that thing will just come fully into bloom. When you're going, wow, this guy took a step forward, and that guy took a step forward, and this guy's gotten way better, and that guy's gotten way better, and it all kind of happened at the same time. And the reason to be confident of that is that you've assembled that young talent. You've created the conditions for the fire to take. Gasoline's there, the kindling's out, it's all set up. So I don't know if we can make the prediction we know for sure will happen this upcoming season, but the talent's there, you're moving in the right direction, you're making some smart decisions as an NFL franchise throughout this offseason and what you do, whether you agree with it or not. At least intelligence is really driving their process, and I do believe in that. And then that just means to me it's only a matter of time till we're back to being contenders. Back in less than 24 hours. Thank you guys for all you do for this channel. I will be back soon, but until that time, please, 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 don't you ever forget, go Hawks.